Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today. We're diving straight into the fascinating history behind an absolute architectural marvel, the original Glastonbury Festival Pyramid Stage. If you've ever stared at a massive concert stage and wondered about the crazy engineering behind it, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down exactly why Glastonbury's first stage matters so much. And honestly, it's not just about music history. It's about rewriting the very concept of how we build temporary cities. So let's just dive right in. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, right? I mean, how exactly did a structure built out of the most mundane materials you can imagine? We're talking literally rented quick-stage scaffolding and 300 sheets of expanded metal from a cattle market in Taunton. How does that evolve into the most famous stage in the world? We're going to unpack that whole transformation today, figuring out how a simple geometric shape became the ultimate blueprint for managing massive human gatherings. Here's our quick blueprint for the explainer today. 1. A dream on the tour. 2. Geometry, scaffolding, and stars. 3. Blueprint for temporary urbanism. 4. More than just a stage. And finally, 5. The pyramid's enduring legacy.
All right, Section 1, a dream on the tour. Let's look at the origins of an architectural icon.
So, this brilliant origin story kicks off in late 1970. We've got Bill Harkin. He was actually an architect designing car launches for British Leyland at the time. One day, he's delivering products to some health food shops in Glastonbury, and he decides to take a walk up a local hill, the famous Glastonbury Tor. Up there, he just so happens to run into festival co-founder Andrew Kerr. And they get talking. A deep conversation about spirituality, utopian ideals, trying to find a new way of life. That single conversation sparked the idea to pitch a massive music festival to a local, understandably slightly wary dairy farmer named Michael Eavis over at Worthy Farm. Now, what's really wild is how the stage itself was actually conceptualized. Harkin claimed the vision came to him in a literal dream. He said he imagined himself on stage with a massive pyramid formed from two beams of light right in front of him. When he woke up, he was so struck by it, he actually took the morning off work just to sketch out the exact outline. And when he brought these cardboard models and sketches over to Michael Avis, well, the farmer admitted he was pretty skeptical about making it a reality, but he was just completely captivated by Harkin's childlike excitement. Which brings us to Section 2, Geometry, Scaffolding, and Stars. The math and magic of the 1971 build. You see, the location of the stage wasn't just some random spot in a field. The founders wanted to honor the area's 3,000-year history as a site for pilgrims. So they deliberately, and I mean precisely, placed the stage on a blind spring. This was situated right on the Glastonbury Abbey to Stonehenge ley line. If you're not familiar, in esoteric traditions, these invisible lines are believed to demarcate earth energies. So yeah, an incredibly ambitious, cosmic placement for a pop-up music stage. But the really crucial part is how they actually managed to build it. Harkin teamed up with a professor of architecture, and together they applied sacred geometry to the design. They figured out a workable modular building block based on a 3x3 grid. The final structure? It was literally a 1/10 scale replica of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And to top off all that cosmic ambition, the stage was perfectly aligned with the summer solstice sunrise. But here's the crazy juxtaposition. Despite this profound geometry and astronomical alignment, the physical materials were so incredibly down to earth. Like we mentioned, it was just rented scaffolding and 300 sheets of metal from a cattle market, draped in plastic sheeting. And it took them 3 whole months to build it. Moving on to Section 3, Blueprint for Temporary Urbanism, Housing a Pop-Up City. This brings us to a super fascinating academic concept, temporary urbanism. Think about it. When you host a massive gathering, even if it's just for a weekend, you are essentially building an ephemeral city from scratch. Back in 1971, the Glastonbury Fair had to rapidly manage, safely shelter, and entertain an influx of over 7,000 transient citizens, and they had to do it in a spot with basically zero permanent infrastructure. They had to figure out sanitation, safe movement of people, security, all for a strictly limited time. And this is exactly why Harkin's design was such a game changer. In disaster relief or standard temporary settlements, builders usually rely on things like bamboo, corrugated metal, basic plastic tents. But those methods have huge limitations when it comes to durability and environmental impact. Harkin's approach, though, using that highly functional 3x3 modular grid of quick-stage scaffolding, that offered a totally adaptable, super durable, and scalable blueprint. It basically proved that temporary architecture could perfectly balance rapid assembly and structural strength with immediate human comfort. All right, Section 4, More Than Just a Stage, a Political and Spiritual Epicenter.
You have to understand, the pyramid stage was never meant to just be a place to plug in an amp. It had a whole myriad of higher purposes. Yes, it was a spiritual center, but it also became a massive platform for social activism. By the 1980s, the festival partnered with the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, the CND, to help raise funds and awareness. They proudly displayed the CND logo at the very top of the pyramid, acting as this huge beacon for peace to millions of viewers. But honestly, my absolute favorite detail? Its agricultural use. When they built the second permanent stage in 1981, they designed it with a dual purpose. During the freezing winter months, the world's most iconic rock stage literally doubled as a hay barn and a cowshed from Michael Evis's herd. I mean, how brilliant is that? Of course, the sheer success of the pyramid stage meant this ephemeral city had to grow. To handle the booming audience numbers and a wider variety of music, they had to develop massive new alternative areas, like the famous Other Stage. This gave the festival a place to book up-and-coming punk and indie acts. We're talking bands like Oasis, Radiohead, and Pulp, long before they eventually graduated to the main pyramid. Fast forward to today, and this temporary urban footprint has exploded across 900 acres, featuring over 100 different stages, all managing visitor flow and sanitation on a completely colossal scale. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the pyramid's enduring legacy, from metal sheets to a global icon. The physical evolution of this structure is just remarkable. That original 1971 cattle market scaffolding version, it only lasted a single year. Then in 1981, the second iteration was built to be permanent, using repurposed metal sheeting and old telegraph poles from the Ministry of Defense. Tragically, that version actually burned to the ground just a week before the festival in 1994. But then, in the year 2000, a local villager named Bill Burrows designed the third and current iteration. This modern colossus uses 4 kilometers of steel tubing, stands 30 meters tall, and weighs over 40 tons. That's heavy. But here's the magic. Despite this massive state-of-the-art upgrade, it still completely maintains Harkin's original sacred geometry and that iconic pyramid shape. The scale evolved, but the blueprint totally survived. And really, we have to bring this whole story back to the creator. Bill Harkin passed away in 2021 at the age of 83. After he passed, festival founder Michael Evis released this truly beautiful tribute, saying that Harkin's enthusiasm and dedication led to what we have now. Harkin lived an incredibly inspiring life, even going on to design structures for the famous Eden Project. But it was that one morning sketch, right after a vivid dream in 1970, that forever changed the world of live event production. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Can a structure designed to be completely temporary leave the most permanent mark on our culture? I think the pyramid stage proves that architecture absolutely doesn't have to be made of stone to be immortal. Look at it through the lens of temporary urbanism. A simple scaffold frame on a Somerset dairy farm became a permanent global icon of music, activism, and community. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on The Explainer today. I really hope this deep dive gives you a brand new perspective the next time you see that legendary stage light up the night sky. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.